Now are we going to have the delay at the beginning as always? And there's the delay.
And here we are. So here we are. We apologize that we're a day late, but there's a lot of things going on yesterday as a follow-up to the city commission meeting. They had a joint meeting, and so we couldn't get with Taylor yesterday, but we're here with you today. We're here with you on a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Liberal. And so Taylor, thanks for coming over.
Earl, thanks for having me as always. Thank you to everybody that will join us and watch us later.
And it was a busy meeting. There's a lot of things that the city did. We're gonna jump in here. I always like to start with the people who come and visit the city commission first, because they took time out as citizens to play a part in it, and you're always welcome to do that.
Yeah, we always encourage it.
They've always been doing that with this commission. And so we'll start with Frank, but then we'll get to our favorite community advocate, Rita. But yes. Frank came and visited with you.
Yes, and very first thing we had to do in the meeting was we actually had to amend the agenda because it was printed as 2017 instead of 2018. So there was that amendment to the agenda. But
I thought the newspaper's the only place that did that.
Clerical errors do happen sometimes. Frank Friesen actually came up, and it was really short. He actually, I was kind of expecting him to talk more about the flooding. His complaint was about the audio on the video feeds that comes out from those commission meetings, that it was very difficult to hear, hard to hear when people are presenting, hard to hear what the commissioners are saying, and really frustrating when you're trying to view it at home. So we apologize about that. We'll try to get everything figured out and make sure that everybody can audibly hear everything that's being discussed. I know that's kind of why I quit streaming the meetings on my cell phone, is because people couldn't hear them, and I'd go back and rewatch them, and I'd have to, put it all the way up to my ear. So it was kind of pointless. After that, Rita Isaacs came, which I love Miss Isaacs. I actually got to talk to her one-on-one for the first time after this meeting, and she's just such a pleasant and awesome lady. But basically, she was inquiring about signs in school districts and school zones. She also wanted to know about some of the school zones from the old schools being removed or modified. Also wanted a sign on Pine Street that had blinking lights, because she felt like it's a very dangerous area at that intersection. And then she wanted blinking lights installed in certain parts of town that had dangerous intersections, like on Tucker Road. So, we take all of that kind of stuff into advisement and kind of try to compile that into any future projects we have going on with streets and roads. Obviously the safety of our citizens, which is all of us, is, the utmost importance to all of us. So, we want to make sure that anything that makes sense in those areas, we definitely can do. The next one, actually, that was it for the items from citizens. So the next one was actually on the agenda was the Joint Building Safety Board, which, man, I absolutely love seeing the county and the city work together as one cohesive unit. It's going to benefit the entire area. It's just a really cool deal. So Kevin Kirk was the one that presented this. And Marcy Weatherly is the zoning official for the county. She was in attendance as well. But basically what this was is we're going to be doing a Joint Building Safety Board of Appeals. So that'll create one centralized board that all the appeals will go to, that has representation from the city and the county in one format. So hopefully that will end up becoming a way that we can get more things green lit in this area through the proper channels, and be able to have better interdepartmental cooperation throughout it. So really exciting stuff there. That got approved, I believe, 5-0. So I think that was a unanimous one. It was good stuff. We also approved an interlocal agreement as part of that, because you have to have an interlocal agreement when the city and the county are doing things together.
So you bang that out, and then the public water supply revolving loan program on some of the things you guys are looking at there.
Yeah, so there's Resolution 2280. It was just housekeeping item to update the names of the personnel that are on the loan. So there's previous city manager was on the loan still. I think some other personnel that may no longer be with us. So they changed it to have all of the updated names. That way these people can actually handle the revolving loan and be able to have full authority to do so. So nice little quick housekeeping item.
And if you've been following the paper, there's been some upgrades to the county fire equipment. They've purchased several different vehicles to be prepared for fighting fires. And of course, we also looking at keeping up to date here in the city. So
indeed, yeah. And the fire department and the police department have been really exciting ever since I've become a commissioner, because it just seems like they're doing an excellent job obtaining funds to be able to get new equipment and new things to better help all of our services. So what this one was about was to purchase 3 2018 Ford Interceptors. Those will be purchased from our local dealership here. Foss Ford. But basically, they're the 3 vehicles that the chief, the deputy chief, and the fire marshal drive. are pretty hellaciously old, and we're kind of needing to be exchanged out for new ones. And so I believe the Crown Vic, which is the oldest of all of them, is probably going to make it into the police auction to be auctioned off. The other two are going to be repurposed in different departments throughout the city. But basically, it was $105,345 expenditure. $35,115 came out of the Special Fire Equipment Fund from the fire department, and then $70,230 came out of the Equipment Reserve Fund. So the airport will get one of the Ford Escapes. Another one will go to the South Fire Station to help them out more, and then the Crown Vic will get sold. But good stuff.
And also, you mentioned the police department, body cams, body
Yes.
wires, keeping those guys completely safe. And the body cam protecting not just the police officers, but also
Yeah, the civilians.
the accused or anyone.
Yep.
It's all on video.
Yeah, I'm a major fan of body cameras ever since the beginning, because to me it takes the liability off of the officer. That way, if there's any kind of allegation about misconduct, you clearly have something to back that up. And then it also provides more safety for the citizens, so there's just no bad situation. So I love body cams. Basically, the PD is going to purchase 10 more of those. That way, all of the officers have their own individual body cam that's assigned to them and is their responsibility to maintain and keep track of. The total purchase price for that was $5,017. And all of that came from a charitable donation. So thank you very much to whoever donated those funds for the police department to buy that equipment. That is exceedingly generous, and we greatly appreciate it. Their second agenda item for the PD was body wires, which I love this because especially Chief said we're trying to up, our high-tech surveillance game. And so the body wire, like you've seen in most movies, if we ever have an informant that's wearing a wire to be able to gain the amount of evidence we need to actually go in and make an arrest, I guess the body wire we had was like ancient and wasn't working very well, wasn't really, ideal in today's world. So they're purchasing a new one. Total cost on that is $2,565. Also donated entirely by a local charitable organization. So thank you once again to whoever is helping out the police department. Third item for the PD is some interdepartmental cooperation between the Huguenin Police Department and the City of Liberal Police Department. So Huguenin is purchasing equipment from us at 25% normal cost. It's all older, used equipment. And basically they were purchasing 3 different things. I want to say one was a vest, one was an older, I wanted to say an older vehicle, but I know it's not. It was a vest and a couple pieces of equipment. The total purchase price was $324.50, which will go into the general fund. But I really liked Chief was talking about making sure that we kind of connect with the other police departments in the area so that we can share equipment, help provide for each other, and all kind of be on the same page to fight crime, which I think is phenomenal. So that was everything the PD had this meeting.
And the Mid-America, you talk about just, kind of receiving gifts.
Yes, indeed.
You also had the Mid-America Air Museum Foundation presenting a donation.
Absolutely, which I got to make the motion on this one, and it was a fun motion to make because of how it had to be worded. But just to give everybody an update on the roof at the Air Museum, it's currently, undergoing, everything of getting done. Right now, they're still power washing everything with solvent, trying to get it to where it'll be nice and grippy for the new material, but they are currently working on that. Basically, this agenda item was, I'll try to make this as least confusing as possible. Basically, in 2013, the MAM Foundation donated $8,500 for the purchase of Past Perfect software, which is software for archiving artifacts and things like that. But the purchase of the software didn't take place until 2017, why? But on top of that, it left over $5,187 from the original $8,500 that they gave the city. So what we did is they had a $21,000 grant that they wanted the city to accept. So we gave them back the $5,187, compiled that with their $21,000 to give them a total of $26,187 to start an internship program, which I think is exceedingly exciting because we've been trying to kind of reinvigorate some of the educational sectors of the community, and internship programs are a huge part of that because avionics is just, it's one of those facets and fields that's unfortunately kind of taken a dip from the youth. They just don't get as interested in it as they used to. So hopefully this will be a way of us working with Stewart County Community College and USD 480 to drum up more interest, in aviation and be able to get more people involved.
And just speaking of Air Museum, I know that this was a topic at the end of last year, and I don't know, you guys really haven't had a hand in it a whole lot yet, but the stem jet. Do you know if there's been any motion on the stem jet? Or
I
is there a
don't.
plan, or?
I've asked some of the Man Foundation members, and I haven't really got a lot of. We haven't talked in depth about it, so I mean, it's not like they're not telling us something, but it's just haven't heard a lot about it. I know it's going to be difficult. Trying to get ADA compliant restrooms in an airplane, that's going to be tough. Not to mention the airplane, no matter what, is not going to be tall enough. Crap. I mean, I hope that we have another meeting about it in the future and can kind of try to figure out a solution with that, because I have a feeling it's going to be very difficult to obtain the kind of change that we need for the safety in that structure with the way that it was discussed during that last one before the election took place. So I haven't heard a lot about it, but hopefully we can figure something out.
So we can move over to the swimming pool and
Yes.
talk a little bit about some of the changes coming to the swimming pool.
Yes, I am so excited. So Matt Quint presented this one, did an excellent job. We are going to finally have summer passes at the swimming pool, which is going to save families like mine tons of money. So the summer passes are going to be $60, and that gets you all the way through all of 2018, or $80 to also include Zumba and aqua aerobics into your summer pass. But it is so cool because the swimming pool, if you're a family like mine, which is just me, my wife, my daughter, every time you go to the swimming pool, I think it was $5 a pop. If you go 3-4 times a week, holy crap, you need to almost set up an entirely separate part of your budget just to afford going to the pool. So being able to pay $60 each, go as many times as we want all summer, is going to be sweet. So something I think is long overdue. Matt, we greatly thank you for this. We also mentioned we hope Matt leaves his picture on all of the ID cards because it'd be great. But yes, and as far as I know, this program is now in effect. So get your summer pass for the swimming pool. Opens this weekend.
And so, Matt, if you end up watching this, or someone who knows Matt, I have another idea for you, and this is a joint City Kids Inc. thing, but the greens just got replaced on the Kids Inc. miniature golf course, Griff Golf, over in North Bluebonnet Park. And Matt, you just put in those new frisbee golf holes, and of course you've got the horseshoe pits over there as well. So what about a fun recreation tournament,
That'd be sweet.
Matt, on a Saturday that you can come over and you shoot a round of golf, you play some frisbee golf, you go throw the shoes, and we just kind of have a fun recreational sports day in Bluebonnet Park. Would you like that, Matt? And anyone else out there, you let us know if you'd like to do that, or if you think that's something that would be fun or that we can get some participation for. Just come spend a day over in Bluebonnet Park, shoot some golf, throw frisbee golf. Is that something you would do, Taylor?
That is definitely something I would do. I know that Earl and I have actually discussed doing the what we're going to call it, the Leader in Times invitational at the park.
Mini Open, or the
Yeah, and what Wesley and I at TFA were discussing is, since we're a technology store, we thought about taking iPads that can never be repaired and taping them so no glass could come out, and using those as the frisbees, because it would just be too glorious not to. But I think stuff like that would be really cool, having a little mini tournament, and that's such a cool recreational area, so we should get something like that going.
Yeah, and so Matt, we might be coming to see you. I've talked with Brad Carr, who's our president on the board right now of Kids Inc., and threw it at him, and I know Kids Inc. would be open to doing something with the miniature golf course, and now it's beautiful. The water is blue and beautiful, and it's been cleaned up, and new greens. The greens are soft, and just you want to, this summer, you've got a great chance in Liberal to go to Adventure Bay Water Park, to come play some miniature golf, to go do some frisbee golf, to go throw some horseshoes, to go to the batting cages. When people say that it's not activities, they're not trying, because there's plenty of stuff to do around Liberal right now for youth and families. And I know eventually we're going to get that rec center, but there's still lots to do even without it right now. So don't miss taking advantage of those. Now,
Absolutely.
You guys had a couple of other, the library board and the housing board.
So the Liberal Memorial Library had a board appointment. It was Carol Deering who was appointed to that position, which I'm sure she'll do a fantastic job. And then the Liberal Housing Authority had a board appointment to fill their last vacated position, which will go to Lori Floor. So awesome to see all the boards getting filled back up. That way everything can get rolling with both of those organizations.
And Earl's Engineering, and
this one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, you've got this too. We've got this. This is
huge.
Maps out the wazoo all over Liberal of how to address. Just so you think, I know sometimes people think, well, there still is flooding here or there, but do they ever do anything about it? They're looking at doing things about it, and these things are very detailed as far as different areas and options throughout town and around town on how to handle that. So Taylor, tell us a little bit about what the presentation did last night.
So Pete did an excellent job of presenting, and basically one thing I do want to preface this with is none of this work will be started effective immediately, but there are going to be some facets that we can go ahead and get started on here pretty quickly. We are waiting on a $900,000 plus grant from FEMA to come in to be able to complete the bulk majority of the work. But from talking to Pete, he does think that some of the work will be able to be started on before we receive the money back. So that some of the retention ponds or detention ponds we have now that are already dry, we can go ahead and dig those deeper, make any modifications those before we do get any rain. But essentially, this was the bulk of our meeting was about this, and this has been a very highly controversial topic because a lot of families in Liberal have experienced flooding issues in the past. We're really trying to figure out a one-size-fits-all solution to try to fix that. So basically, it goes over, and I'm sure it'll be kind of hard to see on here, but I mean, they've drawn lines across all of it. To kind of show the way that things are flowing now, and then throughout this, how they plan on modifying that to be able to fix and adjust the situations. Definitely a lot of this is open to interpretation. What I do like is this right now is their recommendations. However, they're open to interpretation, and they're open to changing them and modifying them any way we need. For example, there's a lot of these that might require us buying more land. And if people catch wind of the fact that we're trying to buy land to be able to fix the flooding, they'll jack up the cost of land. We won't be able to afford it. It'll be, a really bad deal. So there's some of this that we do own land in areas that, I'm sure we can modify, pull it back into the land that all of the taxpayers already own, things like that. But really interesting stuff here. You can absolutely request a copy of this down at City Hall, which I highly recommend doing because there is a lot to cover in this. It'd be very difficult for me to hold each one of them up here and show you. But essentially, once you get to the back end of this presentation, it shows like on all of them, I'll try to really point this out. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it shows like the possibility of potential ponds, potential pond expansions, things like that. And it seems to me like there's a lot of things that we can do. And a lot of it, can be done fairly quickly. What I like about their presentation, what I like about their idea is instead of just looking at the parts of town that have flooded and saying, okay, how can we fix that part of town? What they've done is looked at Liberal as a whole and said, okay, this is the way all the water flows around all of town when it rains. So the adjustments that they discuss adjust all of town and the way the water flows throughout all of Liberal instead of just those problem areas. So if you're looking through this and you have a concern, definitely come to a commission meeting and share with us. Tony Wisenat and Frank Friesen and other people from the audience all did during this last meeting. So we definitely want your input. That way, if we can make any necessary changes to appease that, we can. But essentially, when you're looking at this, and if your neighborhood floods and you don't see the adjustment in your neighborhood, don't immediately get upset by that. Look at some of the other plans and see, oh, well, they're going to divert the water where it's not even going to make it to that neighborhood nearly as bad. Things like that. So definitely a huge project. Going into all the roads projects we have going on right now, the drainage project that we're getting into, a lot of the infrastructure in Liberal that we've come to know and feel like needs replaced is finally going to start to get replaced. So hopefully we'll be able to get the ground broke on some of this sometime soon. Unfortunately, I can't provide a timeline on any of that because I don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on anyone. But this is a very, very talked about topic. So hopefully we'll be able to start putting shovels in ground and getting things done here pretty quick.
And just so that you know, sometimes people think, well, why can't we just push water out to the west or push it out to this area? Because we see it every day and we think that Liberal is flat, that we're completely flat. But the facts are Liberal is slightly tilted, and it's tilted from west to east for the most part. So water is going to naturally flow from the airport all the way up to National Beef. And so if you follow the water, that's one fun thing. And I grew up over on the west side of town, and I wasn't a scientist or anything, we were just a kid, but we could follow the water, and we would go to Can Creek when it was open along 5th Street, and you could follow the water. But as kids, we were like, where's it come from? Where's it come from? And so we followed it upstream to find out where the water come from, and it's coming from the airport side, and it flows all the way over to the east side of town. And so when you're trying to handle the drainage, it's not just as easy, because if Liberal were flat, you could do something. Not only is Liberal tilted a little bit, but we're also in a bit of a bowl, because as you leave Liberal in any direction, if you leave Liberal to the east, you're going slightly uphill. If you leave Liberal to the west, you're going slightly uphill. North, south, we are in a bit of a bowl.
Yep.
And so water naturally comes toward the town, and then it flows a little bit to the east side and would set over there. So This is a challenge, and it's been a challenge for my entire lifetime and for 100 years before that. And Earl's Engineering and the city are really working with this. This document's probably 50 pages.
Yep.
On just how to address some of the areas and to move it from here to there to keep the water moving and keep it down out of your yard, out of the neighborhood, off the streets, making it safe for everybody. So if you do get a chance,
request one of these.
Yeah.
Well, and this is just going into what Earl was saying about the airport. So this part I'm going to show you is specifically an idea about how to fix some of the drainage on the north side of the airport. But you can see here, and I'll try to do my best. Man, it just doesn't show up on the video at all. Basically, we have an existing pond right here. We also have an existing pond right there. And we're talking about putting in a future pond right here, which would actually completely change the flow of the water in the area and keep there from being such an influx of water going directly over there towards 2nd Street and Western. So I do think, the Tony Wisenat was a little upset at parts of this because he didn't feel like it was going to fix anything. I think the hardest thing is, a big part of town that floods is around the Harrison Circle, Clay Avenue, 2nd Street area. Well, there's not a lot talked about in this drainage solution for that because we have to redo 2nd Street entirely. And when we pull that road up, we're going to be looking at the sewer lines, the water lines, everything underneath there all at once. So I'd imagine it's going to take a combination of what we're going to be doing with 2nd Street and this drainage plan to actually be able to see the solution of how it's going to fix the flooding. So stay patient with us, stay paying attention, and we'll try to keep you updated on the drainage plan as much as we can.
We used to play in the underneath the sidewalk on Clay between 2nd and 5th Street because that was part of what was known or is known as Can Creek. Mm-hmm. And you get under there as a kid, you could play in that. But there are underground things that we can't even see now. If we remember 15th Street when it was open gutters, they didn't just fill in those gutters. Some people said, well, that's what caused it. No, there are culverts running underneath where those ditches used to be to move the water throughout that area. So there are a lot of things under the ground that we may not see on the surface that is working for that. And I know this is a big issue, and this came up at the Focus on the Future meeting the other day I was at. But one thing that bothered me a little is acting like as if nothing has happened for the last 20 years or so. And that is simply not true. We used to have to put sandbags in front of the doors here at the newspaper office when we had just a little bit of rain because it would come up over the sidewalk on Kansas Avenue and into the door. And that has not happened for years when they dredged out Frog Pond and, to Joe Seeley's credit, put a little dip in here at 2nd Street. When you go to 2nd, you feel that little dip right there. That allowed the water to move to the other side of the street and get to the low spots and keep moving out east. So there's been efforts made, and I don't think it's fair to say that, they're just not addressing it. It has been addressed. It is a lot better. It's not solved, but it's a lot better, and there's still a plan to continue to make it better and fix all the areas of town. And when you get hit hard and you go over by Roswell Field and you're driving through a pond.
That's my favorite part of the commute home anytime that it floods really bad is how fast do I have to go to be able to jet ski across that dip right there without hydroplaning.
Those are all fun things to do. When I was a kid, we used to come over here to Webster and swim on Webster Street because it was that deep towards the tracks. So a lot of things have been done. A lot of things left to do, but there has been an effort made. And I'll give credit to the past commissions that have worked on that because it has not been completely ignored thing. It's just a super monumental thing when you're at the bottom of the bowl and you're trying to dip the water out of the bottom of the bowl.
Yep.
So it's an ongoing effort. So I appreciate that Earl's Engineering and this current commission is also continuing to move forward and maybe even prioritizing it a little bit more to keep this moving forward. So don't want to belabor that point, but just want to make sure that people realize there have been and anyone who's been around for 30, 40 years knows that it's a lot better than what it used to be. But you've also mentioned 2nd Street, but let's take this a second and talk about the 54 and Clay Street project.
Indeed. So right here in my hand, I have the Smoky Hill LLC Heavy Contractors. I don't think it's called a bid sheet. I think this is just the cost of everything. So basically what the pricing on 2nd Street, I am so excited to get 2nd Street redone. It's all I can talk about. On Clay Street in 54, it's basically going to come out to $107,443.80. Basically what this covers is the mobilization, the concrete pavement, the curb and gutter, pavement removal, excavation, construction staking, everything. So that is continuing to be a very large and very expensive project. However, a lot of our infrastructure in Liberal is getting to that point. It's at that maturation point where it does need to be redone. I apologize to the businesses, even though I would say this is no one person's responsibility. I would apologize to all the businesses and all the people traveling on 54 and around Clay. I know that is a royal pain in the butt right now to travel around, but man, it is going to be so nice once it's redone. Because driving through that was like driving through a minefield before. Because I remember driving little cars like my Civic. Oh my God, you'd hit one of those and it almost launched you into orbit. So it's going to be so much nicer once they have everything done there. So hopefully, we should be looking at a couple more weeks. You know what? I'm not going to say that because I have no idea if it's only going to be a couple weeks to a couple months-ish. But it's going to be done and it's going to be great. But that was basically the total expenditure on that girl.
So when you're going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, let me tell you how you get there.
Through the alley.
You take the light at Pershing, and you go past the Loves, and you turn down the alley, and you go to the El Amigo Chavez parking lot, and you pick to either eat at El Amigo Chavez or Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Man, we went to El Amigo this last weekend before going to the movies, and getting back there were cars going both ways in the alley. We were all kind of having to pull over, let each other around. But it cracked me up because El Amigo and all those businesses were still packed. So it was getting out of it was great. It was so much fun.
And there's where you learn true vehicle etiquette.
Yes.
Because there's only room for one way at a time, and so people are pulling over, letting someone come through, moving a couple of houses, pulling over, someone comes through, someone's letting me through. But
my vehicular etiquette is the fact that I drive either a Prius or a Civic, and most vehicles out there are larger than mine, so I'm always the one that pulls over.
Well, I'm going to ask you a favor out there, okay? So the regular highway traffic that would normally be there can't.
Yep.
And so that definitely is going to impact those two restaurants right there or any other restaurant in the area. So I'm asking you, if you can,
go eat there.
Go eat there. Just go eat at El Amigo. Go eat at
Irma's
Kentucky Fried
Burritos
Chicken.
is delicious. El Amigo's delicious. KFC, obviously a classic for Americans. But, I mean, there's just so many good restaurants right there in that little area. Irma's Burritos just breaks the jaw. It's so good. And El Amigo Chavez, for me personally, is the best Mexican food restaurant we have in town, in my opinion. That's my wife and I's favorite. So definitely do go support them because I am sure that they are probably, have been very stressed out about how difficult it is to get into their businesses.
And I would say that for any business that's affected and it's not their fault, and it's going to be better for them. It's going to be better for all of us when this gets done. But right now, it's probably not the best. So let's be good community members and let's go help those businesses. Drive down that alley, pull in there, have something nice to eat.
Yep.
You're also helping out. You're helping do a civic duty when you do that. We're helping each other out. Just asking you to do that. All right. Well, the rest of it was pretty much. We're gonna have a little bonus coverage today because there was an additional meeting last night. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Lance Harrison said, "Don't forget about M&M Tire." I guess Earl and I were thinking with our stomachs, so I do apologize. There are other businesses over there that do need support as well. So M&M Tire is definitely one of them. Also, I'm trying to think of what is on the other side of that.
So Lydia Gray has just opened up, took over the nursery.
Oh yeah,
on the other side. Yeah. So let me tell you how you get there. Okay, so you go to the light at Pershing where Love's is. You go across the tracks north. Okay, on Pershing, take a left, and that's Ohio. Okay, and go 2 blocks to Ohio. Get over to Clay. Turn back left, and come up. Go to M&M Tire. If you need tires, help out M&M Tire. And if you're ready for plants, go over and see Lydia. So realize that this has an effect when cars can't get through. Let's be good neighbors. Let's not just look at the south side, the KFC and all that. Go eat those. Go check out Lydia's. And let me tell you something. The lady is a living green thumb.
Yep.
And if you don't believe that, go to Heritage Realty and look at the landscaping around there and what she's done down there. So just think what she can do for you. Go see her. And I sent a guy over to see Mike at M&M the other day, and he bought a new set of tires. And I'm telling you, you need tire work or anything like that, I guarantee you Mike's ready to deal, and he'll help you out. And don't forget about those guys.
I love the verbal directions. 6 lefts, 4 rights, 2 diagonal turns, and
eventually you'll be in the
country.
That's the old. You might be a redneck.
Yep.
Joke, but here, cross tracks, Ohio. Go over, you'll get there. Now,
hello, Shell. How are you today, Lance? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that up, Lance.
So before we get on to the special meeting, economic development, is there anything else on here that you needed that you felt like you had your manager's report, you had vouchers, you had a short executive session,
And I need to learn that when we have these executive sessions, we discuss this. It wasn't necessarily a slap on the wrist, but it was like hey, you're not giving us much time. When we make those executive sessions, you have to stay in that executive session for the exact amount of time that you set out, no more, no less. Well, and you can't go into the executive session until the time you designate. Well, I'm really bad about making the motion for like 30 seconds away from where we're at. So then we're all like running back there to the executive session route as quickly as we can. So I've been told in the future, 5-minute delay before we go back there. That way, anybody that needs to tap the kidneys or anything, we all get moved around.
He's new.
Yeah.
You got always with the new guy.
Yep. And so the bonus today is that we had a joint commission meeting last night between the city, the county, the college, the hospital, the Chamber of Commerce, and the school board. It was in Eisenhower Middle School, which, by the way, is a beautiful facility. That was my first time being able to go in there. It's quite gorgeous. But it was a doozy of a meeting. I mean, this thing was like 2.5, if not longer, hours. And there was a lot of positive things discussed. Great vibes going on. Everybody's working together. So we brought the notes from that. And we're going to go over all of the fantastic agenda items on that. I don't know if that is legible. Leave it up there so people can pause.
And this was not just like a 2-page document. This was a significant read.
It's what we're doing with the dead trees.
And yeah, by the way, we do print the paper on expired trees, but we also use recycled material. Most of your paper now is recycled material, but the company that we use where we buy our newsprint, which is called White Birch, they also plant more acreage in trees than what they harvest. And they've actually expanded the amount of trees on the planet than they have reduced them. So just so you know,
see, that's
a little joke, but
it's sweet that he gets to say that. I own an electronics store, so not only does everything that we sell come from a third world country, but most of it requires rare earth minerals that are oppressing other third world countries. So
and to burn coal to run them. If you're running an electronic device, you're burning coal. Just so you know, just want you to know that. But
that's great.
But when you read the paper, you can read outdoors. You don't even need electric light. You could read this without even burning any electricity, and we're recycling trees.
I'll tell you what, though, because when you read the newspaper or anything else on an electronic device, you can read it at night without any kind of illumination. It's a beautiful thing.
And you can do that too.
Yes,
I'm an all of the above guy.
Hey, by the way, I wanted to thank you for getting comments available on the new city website and the new app. I think that is fantastic. Is the meeting from last night on YouTube to watch if we missed it? No, the joint meetings, there's always so many people in there and so many people in the audience from attendance that we've never had it in a location where we can live stream it. I would love to live stream on my phone, but then the audio sucks a lot. And so, I don't, mine runs on sake and orphan's tears. Yes. But no, well, I'll try to figure out a solution for you, Shell. I appreciate you bringing that up. These joint meetings do need to be streamed. It's difficult because like last night, even though we had a nice large room, holy crap, it was filled. It's filled to the point where everybody was like out in the hallway trying to listen as well. So try to get those starting to be live streamed for you.
And just so you know, we did launch a new website called liberalfirst.com, and on there, when we first launched it, comments went on there. So I went to add those on, and we were on a GoDaddy server. We found out there's a few hoops you have to jump through to be able to host comments. And so we had to get a certificate and all these other things. So it delayed that, but they are now available. Yep. And my day's not complete until you tell me how bad my story was. So please go on there, tell me how crappy we did. And then I can sleep okay. But I haven't been able to sleep because I just assumed people must like our stuff because no one's trashing it. So now you can go on there and trash it and let me know so that we go. So it's all there for you.
Well, what's funny about that is I know like there was so much animosity in the community towards around when we got into office, that I got so used to there being like people come up and like just kind of chew into us about different things that the first meeting that nobody came up to tear into us from the items from citizens, I remember just being like, is this real life? Like, what's happening right now? Cracks me up.
So we need the feedback, even if it's negative. I got to have someone telling me something all the time. So feel free to do that. It is available at liberalfirst.com. Now, this big meeting last night, Taylor, you guys had several things. Start with fire science.
Well, and actually, we're going to start with an item that was added during the meeting. So the agenda was actually modified at the meeting from Seward County Community College. Mr. Traska came up and had an organization present that, I took not a whole lot of notes last night. They had an organization come up and present about a bicycle and pedestrian plan, which I'm very open to hearing that kind of stuff because, I never realized until I started a family that there are a lot of areas in town that are not easily traversable if you have a kid in a stroller or you're pushing, your kids on a tricycle or something like that. So I was very interested to hear this. They were also working with the Liberal Area Family of Coalitions, or Coalition of Families. Sorry, I screwed up the name. But this organization is fantastic. Basically, what they were wanting to do is get a feasibility study done through this organization on how it wouldn't really affect any of the existing roads or infrastructure. It's more for the new roads and infrastructure that's going to be placed in the future to already have this plan implemented to where we know to make like the streets wider so we can have a bicycle lane and have sidewalks and things like that. But basically, the cost from each taxing entity is only $3,000. So I'm definitely speaking from my opinion. I haven't spoke with my fellow commissioners about this, so I'm not talking on behalf of the commission. I would imagine it's something we'll do. When I say that, I have nominated things before that didn't even get seconded and got no votes. So, that may be another one of those situations. But I think it's something that at that low of an expenditure cost to be able to know what our options are. If we had bike paths, I would use them. I really would. I'd probably buy a moped because it's kind of cheating. You can still ride in the bike lane, but you can go faster than bikes. I think it'd be awesome. So that was what that first part was about. They're teaming up with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas as well for the Pathways for Healthy Kansas. So it was a very cool deal. We'll be looking forward to hearing more about those. You'll hear more about those in our normal meetings from both the county and city commission in the future.
Now, a project like that, I just want you to know, you need to hear this, Liberal, because we've had film crews in covering Liberal and doing some documentaries. But one crew said, Liberal, and they're from New York City, and they said Liberal is a very modern and forward-thinking community. Think about that. And these are the kind of things, putting bicycle tracks and all these kind of things in keeps us right up there with the best of them. And so we want to offer everything that we possibly can to the new modern family. What
kills me is, over there in Switzerland, they came out with these roadways that basically have electricity generating turbines on the inside of them. So when they get pressed down, they generate electricity from the friction. I was looking into those and I thought, oh my God, wouldn't that be gnarly to have like Main Street or our sidewalks have those in it? And then I saw the cost. It costs more to put in 1 mile of that than the city actually brings in total in a year of taxes, which we bring in about 41 million. So when I saw that, I was just like, it's an excellent idea. Never doable. Never doable. Next up was the fire science program. This was so cool. So basically, I did not write the gentleman's name down, so I apologize if you watch this. I'm definitely not meaning to leave your name out of it. But there's a gentleman at USC 480 that is a teacher that will be teaching this program. Kelly Kirk, who is the fire chief for the Liberal Fire Department, came up and presented as well as there was a couple more people that presented. But basically, they're going to start in my understanding was the 2018-2019 school year. They are going to start a fire science program, which what I loved is the fire chief just came out and said, this is a way of us being able to basically have a recruiting pool to pull kids into. Because it is an excellent career. I think you start at like $30,000 plus benefits, and then you can work your way up through that. Can you imagine being 18 to 20 years old, being able to pull in that kind of coin, all because you got college credit hours towards a program like this in high school, and be able to jumpstart a career without any kind of student loan debt? That sounds phenomenal. They went into really good detail on this program. I won't waste everybody's time by going that far into it here. But essentially what it does is, in the past, anytime they wanted to hire a volunteer firefighter or a full-time firefighter, they'd have to send them off to a different university to take these essential courses that they had to have before they got involved. This will teach them all of that and count for the college credit hours necessary to be able to do that. Now, Kelly flat out came out and said he prefers about 20-year-old and up. The main reason being is that you don't really want an 18-year-old operating a fire truck. Probably doesn't seem like an excellent idea. But once they hit 20, they've matured enough to the point where they're more responsible, things like that. So I'm very excited about this program. I think everybody in the room was. So it'll be very interesting to keep tracking this and see how much success we have with this program in the future.
And then, moving on to the next one, IT services and technology.
Yep, and this one I actually chimed in on because this is my thing. So what we were discussing here was actually brought up by Seward County Community College. J.J. Widener, big credit goes to him and Dr. Traska for kind of thinking and coming up with this and preparing it. Essentially what everybody was thinking about with this is, how can we save all of our taxpayers' money, right? Whether we're talking about the city, the school district, the college, the county, all of us are part of this. All of us are citizens of all of these, and we're all paying into it. So how can we all save money? One of the best ways that we figured out how to do that, sorry, that caught me off guard. One of the best ways that we can figure out how to do that is to kind of combine ourselves to where when we're purchasing things, we can purchase a much larger volume, which drives that cost down. So, for example, Microsoft Office 2016 Home and Business typically retails for $229.99 a copy. Every single computer in the city and county require that software. Most of the ones at the college do, same thing at the school. If you think about that, that's an astronomical cost. Holy crap, that's a lot. Well, you can do what they call a volume license. So a volume license is when you buy 100 or more copies, they discount all of them, right? Well, imagine if we created a nonprofit that on paper combined all of our taxing entities into one for purchasing leverage against these larger companies, and we bought 5,000 copies. You're going to get those for pennies on the dollar. I mean, like literally $20 for a $230 item. And so that way, then we can evenly distribute those as necessary. Everybody's still paying for only their stuff, but it's saving all of us a lot of money. Another thing that was discussed as part of that is figuring out if we can share and help each other with IT services. So, basically, like the college has an amazing IT staff. One of my best friends works in that department. He busts his butt all the time. The college always has things going on. Same thing with USD 480, obviously. Technology is getting more integrated into all of our lives every day. So what we had discussed last night was prospecting the possibility of learning each other's networks inside and out, so that when the city's having a little more trouble, since they only have 2 people in their IT department and everything's going swimmingly at the college, they can call on their friends that are in IT as well and say, hey, we need some assistance. Can you guys send us down a couple extra guys? And instead of there being this, well, no, we work for the college, we work for the city, we're not going to do that. Not only would they be willing to do that, but then they're already going to be well versed in our network and our systems to where we can get things working quicker, we can get things done faster, and save all of ourselves some time and money. So I love programs like this. I know that it sounds like BS when you get somebody that's like, hey, we all need to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But in reality, there's only one city in this county. There's one town in this county. We all have to start working together, and seeing eye to eye on things, because we could all save ourselves a fortune of money from the taxpayers' dollars, which, I'm just like the rest of everybody. I don't like taxes. I don't want to pay a lot of taxes. So hopefully if we can get everybody on the same page and working together, we can get those numbers down eventually. That is my ultimate hope.
It's not unusual, even in the professional world or the corporate world or the competitive world, take fast food, for example, that they don't help each other from time to time. Someone runs out of cup lids or someone runs out of straws, that you can't go down the street and the other guy help you and help each other out, because they know in the long run we're all in this together.
Yep.
And the shoe could be on the other foot. And so it's definitely a help, and for our municipalities and our taxing entities, it benefits us all the more that they can work together. Because if they see that same thing, that the shoe could be on the other foot, and they're helping each other out, they're saving you money.
Indeed.
And so we appreciate every effort from all of our elected officials to work together. So also, school crosswalks and school zones.
Okay, hopefully I don't offend anybody on this topic, and I definitely don't mean to offend anybody that finds profanity unacceptable. Literally the note I wrote on this, because of all the animosity that this topic brought out, was holy S word, this was a disaster. That's the only note I took, because, man, basically what it was is Calvin, who is the interim city manager on behalf of the city, brought up the idea, because we've had a lot of people talking to the city about modification of school zones and crossing areas and things like that. But it was just, it escalated very quickly, kind of turned in from a conversation to kind of a pointing fingers thing. And so there really wasn't a lot accomplished on that. Hopefully we can re-talk about that in the future. I'm sure that our city personnel and commissioners will probably be reaching out to the school district to get some feasibility studies and some things so we can actually line some numbers up with things that would make some necessary modifications. But out of the entire meeting, that was really the only topic that came up that was kind of divisive. So it was definitely no productive talk happened there. It was basically 5 minutes of just kind of escalating anxiety. So I was glad to see that one end.
And what we would encourage on the public side is everyone's well-intended. We believe that because these meetings are happening shows the well-intention on everybody's part. So I would just encourage all of our leaders to not try to guess the intent of somebody else, or that there's an intent to, say, put kids at risk on our streets or anything like that. No one wants to do that. We're all parents. We all have kids in the district. City employees have kids in the district. County employees, school district people, we're all in this together. So it doesn't do any of us any good if we go into that route of starting to question motives, or, oh, well, we want to put kids. No, just explain it to each other. And if you feel like there's a concern, say, let me explain to you why we don't do that, and do that in a more constructive way.
And I get it, because, there's been a lot of bad blood at different times between the city and the school district, the city and the county, and different entities like that, depending on what personalities and people were up there at the top. But everybody's working together really well. So we just need to continue working together really well. Forget the past, forge a better and more stronger alliance for the future, because I'm telling you, diplomacy is the only way we grow this city. Working together as one and moving forward as one cohesive unit, in my opinion, is the only way that we save Liberal from being a small community along Highway 54 30 years from now.
And so you and the county are also talking, and this will be about the third time you guys got together to talk about the comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive / strategic plan. So basically, if you guys missed out on this in the past, the county and city would get their own comprehensive plans written, each of which would cost $70,000 to $100,000. None of them were very specific to our area, and none of them were really catered to what we need to do to grow. So what we've been discussing is doing one conjointly between the city and county, and kind of forming not only an advisory panel for it, but figuring out how to have a designated employee that's all they work on is getting this done. And so last night we talked to the rest of the group about it, talked to the college, school district, and the Chamber of Commerce, the hospital, to let them know that they would be a part of that as well, not necessarily monetarily, but as far as the planning, obviously what the hospital's expansion plans are massively affect the city and the county's expansion plans. Same thing with Seward County Community College, same thing with USD 480. So we're really trying to make sure that, and Ken Traska did an excellent job of adding into this, because I guess the college just did a comprehensive plan. They did theirs in-house, and I'm sitting over here saying, we need to develop a plan for 10, 20 years. And then they Ken kind of came out and just torched me on that and said, that doesn't really work. About 3 years of a revolving plan, which I liked even more than the idea of a 10, 20-year plan, because you just keep evolving and adapting it to be more applicable to everything that's taken place. So hopefully Ken's going to be working closely with us from now on this, or I should say Seward County Community College is going to be working closely with us from now on this. So hopefully we'll be able to get this comprehensive plan done in about a year span of time, not something that takes place overnight. But it's very vital for multiple things, because that comprehensive strategic plan is also necessary for our new joint economic development idea that we're having, and several other things that we have going on. So keep tuned on that. We'll keep you guys informed.
So let's just roll into that economic development model.
Economic development. So my understanding right now is that the idea is that when I say we, the taxing entities, are going to create a 50c6 nonprofit that is going to be called Liberal and Seward County Community Development. And so that way it doesn't feel like it's one department inside of one facet of our taxing entities that has control over this, or that's pushing it. It's all of us as a community, all of the private sector business owners, all of the taxing entities, everybody working together to benefit our community and to grow our community. What I love the most is there has been a very principal focus on this new economic development. Is not necessarily to only focus on bringing in new industry, as much as it is there's a focus on supporting and helping to expand our existing businesses and our existing entities, and then bring in things in a coordinated approach that complement what we have while growing our economy and bringing in more jobs. This program will also encompass housing, so big deal here. We should have more news on it come the next Joint Commission meeting, which isn't until September. Holy crap. But we'll have some more information on it before then, because what we're really up to now is budget time. We need to figure out some numbers, figure out what we can do to fund this, and then we'll be able to give you guys a heck of a lot more information in the start date.
So now we can talk about, we've had back-to-back here, trees, the tree program with Brad Beer, and then dead tree cleanup with Roselle Webb.
Indeed. So the tree program with Brad Beer was a talk between the county and city to see if the city could offer the same kind of program that they have in the city out in the county. So that way people that live out in the county could get those sweet trees that I believe come in like 6 and 12 gallon sizes out there in the county, so they could beautify their areas as well. Definitely seemed like there's a lot of coordination and teamwork going in on this. I believe the one only thing that was discussed that would be not the same as what we have in the city is there's a limit, because one thing that was discussed is, do we really want to lose money selling 50 trees to somebody that's going to do their whole tree row around their place out there?
You can't do that?
Well, the problem is, and I didn't even know this until last night, so essentially on this tree program, I think we lose about $10 to $15 per tree. Like we covered that cost of it as taxpayers as we provide them at a discounted rate. So that's where the problem with that comes in on bulk purchasing is, like, how do we justify all of us taxpayers basically giving this one family like $400 worth of value because they bought so many trees? But the nice thing is these aren't saplings. These are nice, beautiful, big-sized trees that'll start growing immediately. So the tree program's done for this year. Start back up next year. Hopefully we'll have the county involved as well. And then Roselle on the dead tree cleanup, It's an important topic. We got a lot of parts of town that have a lot of dead trees in them. And so, basically what was discussed is she wanted to know, kind of how do we go about getting that kind of stuff cleaned up. I was actually the one that spoke on behalf of the city on that one. I said, we need to kind of do some more research into this because you don't want to necessarily pass an ordinance that's somewhat like some of our planning ordinances where if they don't clean it up, we're just going to come in and get it and then charge you for it because that would seem like an unnecessary punishment in certain situations. Maybe people don't have the physical ability to get out there and do it and are busy enough that it just spaced them to call the city. So I'm sure that we'll come up with something of how to get this problem solved and how to get a lot of the dead trees out and get new ones in.
And Seward County April Warden, she brought up a couple of topics also. The co-op solution and also
Kansas license plates.
Kansas license, which we did a story on. You can find liverfirst.com on the Kansas license, the new Kansas license plates. But the co-op solution. Basically,
the co-op solution, it's a co-op that is going to provide financial and strategic decision-making training. So it's like, now keep in mind, don't take this out of context. If you tune in at this part of the video, don't crap your pants with what I'm getting ready to say. But like one of the ideas that they brought up was, what does the community of Liberal do if National Beef goes out of business? That's what this kind of training and planning does, is kind of helps you prospect and look at your community as a whole for the oh crap situations where you realize we have to make a drastic change. Obviously, we hope that's never going to happen. We appreciate your continued investment into the community. National, don't ever leave. But that's kind of what this training session is for. So the county is doing it. I believe SCCC is doing it. The city hasn't committed yet. I don't know if we will. I know I would be interested in doing it. So each one of you basically pays like $1,500 or something like that, or $2,500 to participate, but you get to send 5 people. So if the city commission decides not to do it, I'm going to ask one of the other groups that is doing it if I can steal one of their spots and get in on that sweet action. But that was basically what that was about. The Kansas license plates, there was a nice little print off on the last page of the Joint Commission meeting agenda. Was just an informative piece to basically reiterate everything that Earl had in the paper about the change in license plates and the fact that basically we're all going to have to do it. So
the big thing that's changing from aesthetic standpoint, just so you know, they won't be bubbly anymore. They won't be bubble like where the letters are embossed. They'll be flat. The whole thing is flat and it's just printed flat. And they're making everyone change to that format. So you will have to get one, and it's just the way that it goes. They update those from time to time, and we always have to get one. That's the newest evolution of the car tag.
Yep.
So you have that. And then
someday it'll probably just be a biometric thing that's built into your car that gets scanned while you're driving down the road.
Well, the FBI probably knows what you're driving already, and CIA is probably listening to this right now. So, but no, they'll figure out some way to just put a QR code or something like that and just buzz you and know who's on that car and all of that. But so that was pretty much the main 11 items on the agenda, plus the extra one you talked about. Was there anything else that happened last night you felt was important to share?
Oh, man, that's an interesting way to ask that question because now if I did forget to bring anything up, I'm going to get thrown under the bus for it. I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure that we quickly adjourned shortly after this. Each board exchanged, very nice words to each other about how we enjoy working together and look forward to continuing to do so. Like I said, and I apologize, I'm not trying to be rude by getting on the phone. I just want to look up the exact date of the next joint meeting. The next joint meeting is going to be on September 13th. Is the preliminary date because the school district wanted to wait till after school started. Only makes sense. So September 13th at 6 p.m. Keep tuned. You got plenty of time to make sure and schedule that one out. And then I want to say the city has a couple of special meetings coming up soon. So we'll keep you guys posted on that kind of stuff. I'll try to make sure and include in information from those special meetings with Earl when we're talking about the normal commission meetings. Like I always say, stay involved. Keep coming to the meetings. Keep paying attention to the community. Continue to talk to your commissioners on all the different boards of everything. I love how many people have been coming to our commission meetings, but we want more. I want that to be a packed house every time. So make sure if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, post them on here, and we'd love to be able to connect with you.
And if you'd like to see more of the joint meetings, like the city, the county, the school, what they've done here, if you want to see more of those, comment below. Let's let them know if we want to see more of that. If you want to see less, let them know. If you want to see more videos like this one, please let us know. Click the like button below if you'd like to see us continue to do things like this. If you're watching this on the YouTube video, you can click the subscribe button, and then if you click that little bell beside the subscribe button, every time we do one of these, you'll get a little notification so that you'll know that you can watch it at that time. So give us a like or let us know what you're doing.
Hey,
we
thank you
like
for the
seeing
likes.
those, and also subscribe to it on the YouTube channel. And we'll try to keep you informed as things go in between these meetings. And here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Taylor back over here with the next meeting. So for the Leader in Times, this is Earl. With the city, this is Taylor.
As always, thank you all of us for joining us. I appreciate your time. Have an excellent day. Good God.